Taromo, it is Monday. It is April 6th. It's 8 a.m. on the East Coast. Time for the hot topic of the hour. A senior Israeli official telling Fox News' Trey Yingst, the head of intelligence for the IRGC, has been killed. And at the same time, another commander of a special operations unit was taken out. Meanwhile, the daring rescue of a seriously wounded airman is being hailed as a success story. The U.S. military saving the second airman of the F-15 jet shot down in Iran over the weekend. That crew member surviving for almost 48 hours behind enemy lines and climbing over 7,000 feet to hide in a mountain crevice. The airman activating an emergency beacon armed with only a pistol for survival. That pilot was recovered on Friday. Now, the president is calling the rescue an Easter miracle. After writing on Truth Social, "We got him, and we will never leave an American warfighter behind." Senior administration officials telling Fox the CIA deflected enemy attention with a deception campaign, spreading false word in Iran that U.S. forces had found the second airman in order to buy time. Meanwhile, U.S. Central Command still striking Iran as President Trump warns Iran, make a deal in 48 hours or, quote, we're blowing up the whole country. The president saying Tuesday will be power plant and bridge day, while warning seriously to reopen the strait. President Trump teasing the Tuesday at 8 p.m. ultimatum deadline on Truth Social. Wall Street Journal is reporting this morning that the U.S. and regional mediators are pushing for a 45-day ceasefire that could lead to a permanent end to the Iran conflict. President Trump also writing on Truth Social he's going to be speaking to the press from the briefing room today, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Jonathan, a lot of news to go through. You know, the president also spoke with the Journal last night, and he's talking about Iran. He goes, if they don't come through, if they want to keep it closed, meaning the strait, they're going to lose every power plant and every other plant they have in the whole country. This is about the strait, and he's ready to go.
I wouldn't want to be them and trying to call President Trump's bluff on this thing. And I think it's interesting. I think one of the points from one of his earlier tweets or Truth Social post was when he talks about not leaving anyone behind, it's not just a slogan. It really means something not only to him, but also members of the military. And I think if you're on the Iranian position when it's like another top leader was just killed, they have to be looking at this with some clear eyes that they need to find a way to get out of this. And I think in many respects, they're just simply trying to save face and get out of this, because who's going to want to interview for the next job as head of anything in Iran? It's going to be, oh, the last 3 people were killed. So it's going to be a real morale devastation for them. Morale for the U.S. is great after this, and it just shows the power of our military and how we basically can do whatever we want in Iran right now.
Now, Ryan, your thoughts on all of this? Of course, as we watch the energy markets, this is all about the Strait of Hormuz. This isn't just about oil and nat gas. This is about the global economy. You know, 5 weeks ago, this is now 6 weeks ago, you had so many market analysts worried about a global recession. I don't know if we're there yet, but we are moving into week 6 of this conflict.
We are, and I think what's remarkable about it is the fact that capital markets have held up relatively well here. And in fact, you know, if you look at since President Trump mentioned that they may strike infrastructure, if you look at the betting markets, they put it at like 60%. So the odds of it happening are realistic if Iran does not come to the table here and some deal is not figured out in short order. So I think bottom line here is what markets are anticipating is at the very, you know, maybe long.
My question is, what else do you do to this regime? What else do you do to them? I mean, at this point now, you're hurting its civilians. Okay, so, but we already know that if we're to believe what they said, that they don't care about their civilians. So, what's the end game here? Like, and this is why I think that this was not thought through. If we are led to believe that this sense of governance or whatever type of state this is cares not for its people at all, like literally at all, like they'll kill them, then why would targeting civilian infrastructure, why would they care about that? Why would they care? They're going to have enough resources and money and affluence to take care of their small contingency of friends and family and stuff like that. And why would they care if there's mass starvation and just people dying in the street? So you got, that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, you have to square that argument. You have to make it make sense to me, because it doesn't right now. And that's why it just seems like this was like an afterthought. Like, yeah, we're going to do this and then they're going to do that. No, you're thinking that it's similar to like you know, what I mean is like Trump. Like, there's no elections there. There's no midterms there. You know, it's not like if an uptick in gas and the people are going to vote you out or you know, that's not a thing over there. It's a totally different culture, different societies, different people, a different, you know, pain tolerance, different threshold for comfort. This is not the West. And the more I see it, the more you know, playing chess and playing checkers is kind of it makes sense because, we're playing by different rules. They're playing two different games, and I don't know if you can win when the opponent is not playing the same game. You're thinking that you're winning by doing, all of these things, and they don't give a shit. So how the hell do you win? I mean, if you believe that, take the suicide bombing angle, for example. If you have a culture that is okay with suicide bombing, and some people think that that's good, whatever percentage, and I don't care if it's 5%, then that's very different than us, right? You're not going to get 5% or any percentage of people to think that strapping a bomb to themselves and killing other people is good for them, right? I mean, maybe you're going to have people that want to kill other people. Yeah, that's fine. But you're not going to have a large group of people that are willing to sacrifice themselves. And because of that's why we have to kind of pull our heads out of our asses and just the people that are for this war. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know many people that are. And I know the Fox News and the Fox Business and I know that the old boomer right is down with this. But again, that's because of the Fox News angle, right? And whether it's Fox News, whether it's pro-Israel, however you want to slice and dice it, it's kind of all of the same cloth at this point. But yeah, that's what's very concerning. It's very puzzling. It's very uneasy. I don't understand, all of this even to begin with. And like I said, the bridge and what is it? You're gonna start taking down the power plants now, and so the people are not gonna have power. So the people that were getting slaughtered in the street because they were rising up against the regime, now they tamped it down. Now you're gonna cut off their power. I don't get it.
Again, this does last a couple more weeks, and that's what President Trump said on Wednesday. And if you look at the fact that I mentioned this earlier on the show, but 10-year Treasury, it's contained. You've really been around 4.3, 4.4%. That's not crazy. You're not seeing a big spike there. And if you start looking at fundamentals, if you look at earnings, analysts have actually been increasing their earnings over the course of the last month or so. So we're looking to have a pretty strong earnings season as well. So I think markets are telling you this is going to get resolved. And I think, I would take Trump at his word here. Look at those betting markets.
Well, sure. And you're talking about the earnings estimates. But to your point, yeah, we're going to hear from Delta Airlines this week. That's going to be interesting because they're going to be talking about jet fuel. I mean, there's all these other, strings that are, of course, hitting the U.S. economy. But Jonathan, pivoting back to the Middle East here for a second. What do you make of the fact that officials from the UAE are saying that they will join with the United States if there's some type of military action or some action, whatever that is, to open up the strait? I mean, our Gulf partners they're the ones that are.
So the one bet that I think Trump made that actually, was maybe not a good bet, but is that the strait, Europe and everybody else is way, way, way more affected by that being closed than we are. We are relatively well insulated when it comes to liquid natural gas and stuff like that. We are producing massive amount of energy. That doesn't mean that we don't feel the energy spikes, but the energy spikes that we feel are nothing in comparison to what Europe, China, and other Asian markets are feeling at this point in time because of what's going on here. So I think with her saying that kind of makes sense. It's kind of leading us to believe that the pinch that the European nations and the allies are feeling now is starting to really take a toll. So that I think they're going to be apt to get on board relatively soon and say, let's put the kibosh on this. What that looks like, that's the question. Does that mean that they are going to assist in putting more pressure on Iran? I don't know. I just don't. At this point, I don't know how much more pressure you could put on Iran. I mean, you've taken out massive amounts of their upper echelon of basically everybody. You're starting to target civilian infrastructure, or at least threatening that. How much more pressure can you put on them? Again, like I said, if they don't care about their people and they only care about themselves, what is targeting civilian infrastructure going to do to them? Is that going to cause the people to rise up? It seems like it's going to cause the people to be upset at us, but I'm not a freaking global whatever guy. Obviously, this stuff may be way over my head, and I just may be an idiot right now. That's very possible. But from just like a layman looking at this, it doesn't make sense. Like you're going to get you are going to create an uprise. You are going to stir a lot of hatred and a lot of resentment. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be towards the people that you want it to be targeted towards. So I don't know. Let's see how where this goes.
Still taking attacks, whether you're in Bahrain, whether you're Qatar, the UAE. You know, the Iranians are still throwing missiles at them and still hitting key energy infrastructure facilities of our partners.
Well, I think it's great that they're willing to join in military, albeit it is in their own interest, but it does show that the partnership that President Trump has built with these Gulf states is strong. And I think it will really carry over to leading to a solution on this, because eventually the Straits of Hormuz will be opened. And if we have to do it with a lot more military action, it's going to happen. But I think having other people on board, again, sends a stronger message to Iran that they're not going to be able to pull this off and continue to be a bully in the Middle East.
Yeah, Ryan, again, the other component of this is Russia. You know, OPEC Plus saying that they're going to increase production. The Russians are effectively benefiting from high oil prices. You know, Brent's at 108. You've got WTI in this country that's at 110. These are high, elevated prices.
100%. And Jonathan, you said self-interest. Like every country, every superpower, like China, Europe, everybody needs a strait open. The only country that's benefiting from the fact that this strait is basically, for all intents and purposes, closed is Russia. Right? They're benefiting from the higher oil prices. So it says to me this strait has to get open, and the fact that you have literally every superpower in the world that needs that to happen makes me think it's going to happen.
Well, and look, domestic gas prices. I mean, look, we're at 412 right now. That's today's average. We're at 411 yesterday, Jonathan. So that, I think, does add a sense of political pressure on the administration. Final word.
Yeah, it certainly does, because that's one of the prices that everyone notices for whatever reason. When you're filling up your car, you're just looking at that price. And, we filled up our SUV recently, and when it gets to $100, for some reason that really resonates with people. So I think it's important. President Trump knows this. We need to get oil prices back down, and hopefully the futures market, like Ryan talked about, are right. They'll be down to the $70, $80 a barrel.
Yeah, but how do you do it? How do you do it when the people that you, again, are trying to deal with, they don't care about the same things that you care about, right? They have a completely different attitude when it comes to literally everything. Like there's almost no similarities between a Western thinking person and somebody living in Iran. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure there's a group of people. However, doesn't seem to be enough. And we were told that these people they were going to rise up and stuff like that. And then I get it. We have the excuses of they don't have weapons, stuff like that. And then they started talking about that we have to get the enriched uranium. It's just as somebody who attempts to just be the average person, consuming the content, consuming the information, trying to understand that I'm being propagandized left, right, and center, and try to sort all that stuff out. Just somebody like myself that is, again, average guy, average intelligence, just listening to the stuff. And what does it mean? What does this all mean? It doesn't make sense. The narrative, the idea, the talking points are all over the map. There is no consistent thread. At first it was they can't get a nuclear bomb. All right, they don't have a nuclear bomb. Well, they have 60% enriched uranium. Okay, but what does that mean? Well, that means they can enrich 90% in a matter of weeks. Well, how long have they had 60%? I mean, reports came back for maybe the past 10 years that they've had 60%. So if they can have 60% enriched uranium and get to 90 in a few weeks, why haven't they done it in the past 5 to 10 years? And you start going on this rabbit hole and you're like, oh, it's weapons of mass destruction again. That's basically what you're doing to me. You're doing it again. You're doing you're doing WMDs again. And whether we end this without boots on the ground, which hope and pray that happens, with minimal amount of civilian casualties, which already there are way too many. But I still do think that even in the end, even after this is all said and done and the dust settles, hopefully everything comes to an end very, very quickly. I still think it will still have been a WMD scenario, where this is what we were told. We were sold this, lie for God knows how long. And again, people constantly say that, oh, well, it's that I forget who I was listening to the other day, but they basically said that Clinton did the same thing. His error in not tamping down on Korea when they were seeking the nuke. Now they have a nuke. And I'm like, okay, now they have a nuke. And they've had a nuke for a while now. What does that mean? That means we kind of leave them alone. So you mean to tell me that if the Iranian regime got a nuke, and maybe this is true, So the methodology of thinking is, if Iran got a nuke, then they would immediately nuke a country. They would immediately nuke Israel. So now let's play this out. Iran gets a nuke. Maybe they get one. Maybe they get two. They immediately nuke Israel. What would then happen? What would then happen? We all know what would happen. Israel, with way more nukes than Iran would have, would wipe them off the map. They would just obliterate the country. And it would be, I don't know if it would be a nuclear Armageddon. It would not be very good. Hoping that we would maybe somewhat survive. I don't know. Who the hell knows at that point? But the fact that people just say, well, they're going to get a nuke and immediately use it, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying the fact that all of these people are fine. Like they still want the religion to prosper. They still want to promulgate their ideology. So why would they do something that would absolutely assure their total annihilation? For me, I can't accept that. Again, maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm stupid, maybe I don't understand a lot of the geopolitics and the mindset of that regime, but that just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Does it make sense to you? Let me know. Please hit the subscribe button. Follow me on the X, 628 if you talk on the X. Yeah, like, share, all the good stuff, guys. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully by the time I see you again, the war will be over. Let's see. Take care. See you in the next video.